because my son Bezrat Hashem is turning 3 years old Saturday night here in Israel, and we're going to have a big party where we're going to cut his hair for the first time. We never cut his hair before. Can you believe that? That's crazy, man. By the way, children, before they cut their hair, it's like really cute curls, like it curls and
He'll be happy.
everybody will be happy. Good, very good. Now, what is the reason we cut the hair at 3 years old? What is the reason we cut the hair at 3 years old? Anybody know? Why don't we cut the hair till the third child turns 3, and then we cut it when it turns 3? Orla. What's orla?
Like not taking fruits from the tree.
The truth is that there is actually a massive connection between the two. That's actually very true. There is a connection between the two. Again, Sfardim do this. Sfardim do wait till 3, like the Chabad, like the Hasidic. Usually it's Hasidim and Sfardim. There are some exceptions that of the Ashkenazi community that also leave the hair till 3. We're about to explain why this is, why we leave a child's hair to grow till 3. Biblically, if you have a tree that grows, you're not allowed to reap the fruit for 3 years. Okay, 3 years you need to leave the fruit on the tree, or basically it goes to waste, or it goes to natural, whatever it is. You see, there was some Greenpeace people back in the time of the Bible. They convinced them, listen, you need to be a little bit into the environment, so for at least 3 years, don't mess with the tree. That's what they did in the time of the Bible. They would not. By the way, till today in Israel, it works like this. A farmer, a Jewish Israeli farmer, especially if he's a farmer that keeps the Torah, he will not pick the fruit of the tree for the first 3 years. Now, what does that have to do with a child?
It's also on any tree at any part of the world from anybody, right?
So that's a good question. If you know for a fact that it is coming from a tree that's under 3 years old from the rest of the world, you're not allowed to eat it. However, you don't have to check, because the majority of trees actually, are more than 3 years old that are giving fruit.
Yeah.
Right? So we go by majority. It's a halacha concept. What's that? Well, the farmers are meant to be sure. Right? The farmers are meant to ensure that it's not 3 years old. And by the way, I'll tell you as a side point, there aren't many trees that can actually grow fruit within the first 3 years. Most fruit trees do not grow fruit in the first 3 years. There's a few exceptions. One of them would be like grapes will grow. Grapes, which is considered a tree according to Torah, will grow grapes within the first 3 years. So you have grapes. And the fact is, what happens if you draft a tree? You know what drafting is? Grafting. Grafting a tree will also be like that, or replanting a tree. So if you take a tree out of the ground and you replant it somewhere else, in many cases, you will have to wait another 3 years.
Take it out of the ground?
Yes, some people say that if you take it out of the ground with all the dirt that's around it, and you replant it with the dirt that's around it, then you don't have to wait 3 years. But let's just say you just pull the tree out of the ground and all the dirt flops away, and you just have the roots, and you replant that tree. You have to wait another 3 years before you can eat the fruit. Yeah.
Interesting. What if you go into the woods and pick fruit?
So again, generally, if you don't know, you could assume that it's 3 years. As I told you, because majority of fruit-bearing trees are over 3 years old. And there's a rule of the Torah is that we go by majority. When in doubt, you go by majority biblically. Rabbinically, there are certain situations where we're more strict than majority, but biblically we go according to majority. So if majority of fruit-bearing trees are more than 3 years old, therefore you can assume that it's more than 3 years old unless you know otherwise.
What if the majority of food in the spot is kosher, so I have to check it's kosher?
That's a great question. I told you biblically, not rabbinically. Right? And also there's a biblical concept called kavua, which I'm not going to begin to discuss, because if I do, then everybody's going to be like, what the heck are you talking, Rabbi? I don't know what you're saying, even the guys in the class, because it's a completely different topic and has a lot of different rules of kavua. There's many reasons why it would be an issue. Yes. All right. Where are you running? Have a seat.
Oh, I would love to have a seat. Bezrat Hashem very soon.
Huh? So you come to say good morning to disturb the class, and you're not even going to join the class?
Speaking to Zohar.
About the class.
Okay, I get this.
Shh. Now you have to sit down. So did you part of Kola? You can be learning here too. Anyways, what are we saying? Oh, we're telling you about the 3-year-old child. The 3-year-old child that has his haircut, his first haircut when he's 3 years old. Okay? The Kabbalah says that, well, actually, it's a quote from the Bible that says a man is the tree of the field, which means the Torah itself compares man to a tree. There's a lot of similarities between a man and a tree, right? Yeah, they do about the same thing. Nothing. They just stand there and do nothing. No, just joking. It's a joke, right? Everybody makes fun of men that we're a bunch of lazy bums. What do you think? Is it true? Are we a bunch of lazy bums, men?
Some of us.
Some of us, yes. Definitely some men are lazy bums. Okay? But the Torah does compare men to a tree. Okay? And I'm not going to get into it because Kabbalistically there's many different reasons why we're called a tree and how we're compared to a tree. But because the Torah calls us a tree, and the tree, you don't reap the fruit for the first 3 years, Kabbalistically this is represented by the hair. The hair should not be cut for the first 3 years to show that you're leaving this for Hashem. And then once you cut the hair, you leave the payas, which is the sideburns that are also required biblically. And when you're leaving the sideburns, that is the first mitzvah that your child is being taught. Because once your child turns 3, they reach what's called the age of chinuch, which means you need to begin educating your child at 3. Right? I don't know why in the Western world these mishuganas, these crazy people, okay, they decide that you only start going to first grade and later in your how old you are already? By the time you get to 6, 7 years old when you start being educated. In Judaism you start being educated when you're 3 years old, okay? That's it. You're 3 years old, you need to be educated. You parents out there, start educating your kids at 3 years old. Teach them how to be a mensch, teach them how to be a good human being, etc. That's when their education begins, at 3 years old. Okay? That was a bit of a side concept that we were talking about. He has this long curly hair. He looks like so cute with these long curls, and I'm going to cut them all off. And then you know what he's going to look like?
A chosid.
A chosid. He's going to look like a chosid. All right. Now,
He's going to go from Tarzan to chosid.
to what?
From Tarzan to chosid.
Tarzan?
Yeah, he looks like baby Tarzan.
My kid looks like baby Tarzan.
Yeah.
When did you show me a picture of Tarzan? You have a picture of Tarzan?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see it right now. We're in the middle of class. Okay, after class you'll show me a picture of Tarzan, and then I can decide whether I have to beat you up or not for making fun of my kid. All right.